Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of PoCommunity. I'm Mike Garboy and I'm sitting here with Alexandra Greenberg. How's it going?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Tell me about yourself. What do you do?
So, I'm 21 years old. I have a photography and graphic design company, and as well, I have like a little travel and lifestyle blog, which is under construction right now, just slowly building it. And I'm starting a podcast, and I normally, for me, my photography and graphic design, how it really started was I was 14 years old at the time and I was going out on hikes and I wanted to document like all my hiking and nature photography trips and even just like when I went on a travel to Paris, I wanted to document it. So I fell in love with photography because it was art, but it was a way to share a little bit of memories of my life so then I could look back. And then in 2018 of September, I was introduced to Canva and I slowly started getting into graphic design. I'm just in the process right now with branding and it's been going pretty good right now. I've been heading out, doing some social distancing walks and taking lots of photos and practicing my graphic design skills. So, yeah, it's been pretty good.
That's fun. So you said before you're really into travel, right?
Yeah.
How did that start?
So, traveling started was when I was really young. My parents took me to San Diego to go visit my godparents in La Jolla. And that I just fell in love with it because I could learn all the stuff about global issues, how people are living, the fashion, the culture, like the whole types of vibe outside of BC. And I just fell in love with it. And then by the time I was 9 years old, I did a trip with my mom to Italy to go visit my aunt because that was the first time I visited her and just wanted to kind of see a little bit of Europe. And I loved it, and I got to do like bus trips and train trips and see the landscape and tons of olive trees in Tuscany. And I personally enjoyed it and I got to see some of my relatives and it was pretty fun. Um, I will say from that point on, my family and I, we did a bit of road trips and then we went through California to the Rockies. We went to Edmonton, and I did some trips to Vancouver Island and Nanaimo a long time ago, about 10 years ago. And it was quite nice to see Vancouver and just kind of see, explore the world a little bit. I'm an explorer. I love hiking. I love the outdoors. I love going on spontaneous adventures, and that's why I really like traveling. And I hope, cross my fingers, I could go and travel again after when COVID is over or when we get our vaccines, which is taking forever.
Taking way too long. And yeah, I actually have friends that work in the travel industry, either doing like videography for stuff, and they're still going. Like they're just like, I will travel around the world, do it, come home, quarantine, like because they need to. That's their business, so they can't put it on delay. That's literally what they do, and that's more of the like lavish, like they get to go to these amazing looking places and get to film it, and it's all on the house. So why wouldn't they want to be doing this, especially when it's so mentally draining right now that when they're telling you you can go these places in the world, you're allowed to travel, it's just a headache to do so, right? I know when we were talking before the podcast, you were saying with your podcast that you have an idea for, or just like your travel blog, you want to really promote the like more inexpensive ways to travel, right?
Yeah.
So like that me like you see all the stuff like I was talking about with people um going to these crazy places that only people can dream about going to, like you on Instagram, especially if you see all these amazing resorts that like really, if anybody, an average human being, a person that lives in the real world, wants to go there, it's like life savings they have to put into going on this trip. When we need more people that are showing like the actual types of trips everyday people are going on.
Yeah.
So does tell me a little bit about like that, like how what are you doing for that?
Well, I want to showcase more because I was a girl who didn't come from a rich family. We didn't inherit any money. Um, so I wanted to show the people, hey, like, you can still enjoy in a three-star resort. It may not be as pretty, but a hotel is a place to sleep, and if you have relatives, it's a lot more cheaper to go. And basically, like, for me with traveling, it's not about the whole extravagant. I'm more of like, I want to go and see some museums, and if they offer it for free, like, for my podcast, I want to talk about like going on a budget, not spending money on shows and going out to eat all the time, you know because when I was in Europe, most of the time I would just go to like a grocery store because it was a lot more affordable compared to going to a restaurant. And at the same time, it's like, when you see on Instagram, it's like, oh, everyone is having, these meals from room service. And it's like, well, not everybody can, afford room service because, they're on like a strict budget, and they just don't want to have, big allowances. So I wanted to show from my own side, like, hey, if you are aspiring to travel, there are certain ways how you can travel. You can stay at a hostel, you can stay at Airbnb, you can stay in, a affordable hotel. You don't have to always think, that travel is always about luxury. And it's, because when we go and find flights like on Expedia is it can be pretty expensive unless you get a good deal, but those deals are only like if you can get early morning. So it's like a first come first serve. So there are certain ways. There's a website called Skyscanner. You can save $1,500 with if you are going into like business class or like economy. And so there's a lot of ways how you can navigate in traveling and just kind of work around it, and make sure like you do your research, find a hotel, find a good area to stay at, because you just wherever you are, you might be in a nice hotel, but the area around it might be a little bit run down and you might not feel safe. So safety is pretty important. I do remember when I did my first trip to Paris. By the time I came back, I think it was in late September or October, was when they had that terrorist attack. And my mom and I, like, we said, oh, thank goodness we went to Paris, and we found a cheap deal on Expedia for like under 1,000, and we were able to explore the town without having any disruptions or you know so like that's the kind of type of travel lifestyle podcast blog I want to kind of like share, because not everybody is going to feel like you know wants to have like this whole perfect lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing.
And I mean, like, you live in Vancouver, which is the most, like, in reality, if there's people that are doing travel blogs and stuff and they can't do them properly right now because they can't really travel, this is the one place you probably want to be, because you can just wander an hour away from your home in each direction. There's some sort of adventure. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing. So, like you said, you've been doing a lot more hikes and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, you like, have you always been into this like outdoors?
I've been to like some parts of outdoors. I've been into more of like with hiking. I don't personally do like types of those sports like rock climbing. Um, but I really do enjoy hiking. It's just a way for me to connect with nature more. Um, I would like to get into other like outdoor sports, maybe like camping as like a leisure activity, and would like to also do like archery, and because I grew up in a place, North Van, which has a lot of mountains and a lot of hiking trails, and I personally love the whole nature aspect. I get to be hearing the birds and chirping, or just enjoying the river flowing. Yeah, it's just like basically nature is like it's my zen. It's where like if I need a self-care day, just to get out of work or out of the city, if I want to escape all the hustle and bustle, because Norvan now is turning into almost like New York City. It's like it's a lot of people are moving in, and I'm sure like the whole lower mainland is just turning into one big population. But personally, the mountains is like it's my second home. It's like where if I just need a day off from everything, just escape.
Yeah, North Van is one of the only places pretty much in the world that, like, depending on the season, drive up the mountain, possibly get some spring like skiing or snowboarding in, drive down and be able to hit up the beach in the same day. Not swim, but it sometimes gets warm enough in April or something, and you all have that in the vicinity of like half an hour drive. It's like up or down, right? It's North Vancouver is gorgeous. Vancouver is an anomaly as itself. There's a reason why people, when they come here from other parts of the world, they fall in love with it. I think I grew up here my whole life. You've been here pretty much. You've been here your whole life. You take it for granted. But I noticed that people that have traveled and like traveling, they're the ones that actually realize how crazy amazing Vancouver is. Because when you get back and you fly in from somewhere and you see our city, it's I think as kids you don't notice how beautiful it is, and you just think, oh, I want to live here. All these big name cities around the world. I know me as a kid, I was always thinking, why can't I live in the States somewhere in like a big city like Los Angeles or New York or something? But Vancouver is, yeah, in my opinion, from where I've traveled, probably the most beautiful city I've seen, and we have it right here, right? So, have you been doing blogs while you're out?
While I'm out is I normally like I kind of want to just like have like restricted screen time.
Hmm.
So normally while I'm out is I just take a lot of photos, and then when I come home is like okay, I go on my computer and start to um write out blogs a little bit, or just like like outline it, because for me I can't write anything unless I outline it. It's just more of like I have to do just start off from like scratch and then just work my way into like all the details, because like once you start writing it's like it can get overwhelming, especially if you have like writer's block like I do. So it's like you have to like start somewhere from like scratch and just like build an outline and then just put all the details in it and then transfer it onto the blog.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how many different ways there are of promoting what you do and yourself. And it's to nowadays it's hard to even like succeed unless you're doing every one of them. Like just knowing since we've started this company here, the amount of just social medias like platforms, the types of promotion, whether it be written blogs, audio podcasts, video podcasts, both. Like it's a lot of work. It's a lot, but the successful businesses and entrepreneurs are doing it all because they realize how everything grasps people's attention in different ways. So there's some people that are going to love the video aspect, some people that only want to listen to it. some people that love reading like journalistic blogs or just articles. But in this ever changing media structure that we have in this world, it's like you almost have to do it all. You almost have to do it all just to cover your grounds, cover who you want to listen to, watch, read what you're doing. So I like if you're doing these written blogs, one day maybe you want to do an audio version of it. That's like I know so many people nowadays with books. Books, they're not reading them; they're listening to them. Audiobooks, just because we're in this generation of go 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 fast 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 that it's almost if a person can drive in their car or sit on the bus and listen to a written book like a book when they can't physically read it like they're out and about doing stuff. It's that's where that industry had to move to, like books had to move to that too, because it's just covering their grounds. So if I have any kind of pointers for you're starting out your podcast, like try to cover your grounds. Even me, like I'm doing this podcast, this video majority, like I have the ability to make it audio. It's just the work to do it, rendering it down, posting it at different places. I got to do it. I've already had demands, plus plenty of demands to like make an audio podcast too. It's the time and effort. There's so much that can be done to improve your platform, right? Um, what anything like else you want to promote today? Like, are you going to be launching a podcast soon, or?
I will be launching a podcast soon. However, because right now I'm just learning the ropes how to do it, and it's just taking the time to build it. And so that will be coming out soon. I don't know when. It's actually a surprise.
Mm,
So we'll just see it from here. Might get it this year, might get it next year. But I'm also saving up the money for equipment, just like minor equipment like a mic and a headset. I'm just going to use my computer. And so that's really that. So I'm just trying right now to find like a job, and then like I will put together like a budget and just see like what can I afford. And so
yeah, it's an expensive industry, but it's also getting better. It's and one secret and tidbit I have for you is use your cell phone for as much as you can. Um, the media industry does not want you to know how good cell phone cameras are and how good cell phones can pick up audio if you have just even a headset mic. I know a girl, an amazing musician. She recorded her first full album with a Apple headset, a little microphone like this on her phone, and it doesn't sound amazing, but it sounds really good for being done that way. I've learned since doing a bunch of filming and stuff here, um, cell phone cameras get confused less. They know how to auto balance color. They do a bunch of it's amazing what they can do, and the photography and videography industry does not want you to know this because they have thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of equipment, cameras alone. That if you told people that phone you already have that you're paying monthly for to have is a perfectly good camera, they don't want you to know that. So that's if you see these. These are how we film with cell phone cameras. I promote the fact that we have a 4K camera in here, but cell phone cameras have been it's been almost a lifesaver when it comes to less editing and filtering of like just audio or not audio color problems, and it's insane. So yeah, start out with whatever you can. If it's just you talking, just recording to yourself, almost like a personal blog to yourself. Teach yourself that. There's also an app called Audacity, which is it's free. And it's got if you have a microphone of any sort, it has really good filtration, like really good audio filters that will make you sound so good, even if you don't have the best microphone. So that's another pointer. It's I taught myself doing video podcasting last couple of years, and it was mostly just for my to be able to do what we're doing here is to learn that stuff and just Some of it will never be released, but it really taught me how to do this stuff. But it also teaches you how much can go wrong. That's one thing any aspiring podcaster I'll tell them is technology is great, but it likes to screw up a lot. So if you are recording, so everything seems fine, all of a sudden you go to look at your podcast and half of its audio is terrible or not working at all. That happens. It's not you most of the time. It can be you. Sometimes I make the mistakes, like not having the right settings on or something, but audio, video, everything. That's one thing I've learned from many people in any kind of arts industry. Stuff can go wrong at any time, and it will be like the most inconvenient time half the time. But you'll get one area down completely. You'll be so confident, and then your camera acts up or this and that. So yeah, be patient. Also with podcasts, don't expect overnight success ever. They say that podcasts will never get up, like never, unless you're already a celebrity or you got like a huge following. But if you start a podcast, you will not get, basically, you will not get any a huge support system unless you have 50 or more podcast episodes. So if you give up within those first 50 because you're just not happy with the numbers, you got to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. As soon as you get past 50, and you start reaching out to more guests or doing whatever you want to do, um, it, people see a catalog and they see you're serious about it, and you'll start seeing just more and more numbers. This is all information that I've been given, and we're not even at episode 50 of this yet. And just each episode, we see more and more, more and more, more and more. So it's like a snowball effect. Don't ever give up. That's the biggest thing. If you enjoy doing it, enjoy talking, blogging, just keep doing it. Don't expect numbers. Just do it for the sake of loving it, and then it will come. So yeah. Anything else you want to talk about today? I know you came out here from North Van, so I don't want to push you out or anything.
Well, uh, I don't know what's on my mind.
Well,
I
obviously, it's been a
mean,
crazy, crazy year and a half, just over a year, and
yeah,
you're young and you're an aspiring entrepreneur, and it's good that you're still doing that, because it's a scary time, and a lot of people with entrepreneurs, especially in the past, there's not many people that float as entrepreneurs, anyways, in the middle. But right now, with COVID, it's been a lot of either go harder than they've ever gone before or give up. And there's not many people in between. So the fact that you're young and you're still aspiring to do this is it's very positive, because it's scary as hell for a lot of entrepreneurs right now. It's really I wouldn't say comforting, but it's really tempting to go work for somebody again and have that comfort of, like, even if you're working from home or whatever, to have a 9 to 5 steady income, um, to basically that comfort where most entrepreneurs are trying to get out of because they hated it so much and they finally are doing it for themselves, will end up going back to it just because of that comfort, even though you never hear them stop complaining about how much they hate their jobs.
yeah. Well, I mean, I myself, I'm like, I'll be working for someone else, but you know, that won't be for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I uh, just don't really want to work for somebody else my whole entire life, because what happens is that you don't have your own policies. There's not enough freedom. It's kind of like you follow these policies, and then it's like that's where you're at. But if you're like someone who is like, you work for someone else, but then you really want to start a business, there's a lot more opportunities to work around. I would say also, like, even that I'm an aspiring entrepreneur, for anyone who is planning on being an entrepreneur, is just start somewhere and just work your way up. And I know things do get challenging, even for me, from my own experience, it is hard to even build a business. And so, just start somewhere and build your experience. And if you need more help, go get a mentor. That's just like, that's a key thing for anybody who is either getting a podcast or in real estate or anywhere else. Just get someone who has a lot of experience. If you can get someone who has 5 years or 10 years plus experience, that's great because they can just show you like how, like the steps of how they did it. And then, you can take that information and work yourself way up the corporate ladder.
Yeah, too many people try to do it alone. That's the hardest part. And it has a lot to do with funds a lot of the time. But what I'm finding after being in this kind of realm for just over a year with talking to a lot of small business owners is it's not always about monetization. It's more there's a lot of helpful people that help each other out, not even for money. And it's not like your people are taking advantage of people's services. There's a lot of old school trade-offs, if that makes any sense. Like, um, if you're like let's say graphic designer and you need help with your this is coming just like randomly, if you need help with your taxes or something, there could be an accounting company that needs graphic design work, and sometimes it's just it could be some simple graphic to the accounting company is a lot of work, but to the graphic designer it's like, and it's one of those things that's like, oh, could we just do this quick trade off of like you just do this for me and I do this for you, and we don't even have to bill it. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of just trading goods and services uh, out of like goodness of your heart, and especially this year and the last year, people are just going out of their way to make it more comforting for small business owners and other entrepreneurs, and it's not as cutthroat as it used to be. Even in like sales teams that are competition from one another, it's less and less cutthroat. It's a lot more people just like, okay, there's plenty of space for all of us. Let's work together. Let's all try to succeed after this really in reality crappy time where everybody's going through, right? So I'm really hoping that COVID really does a kind of a shift of people's mental well-beings of like not that cutthroat business world that people have lived in the past. It's more just people realizing there's plenty of space for everybody, and we can all do well with everybody doing well. So let's just hope that more and more people are still like going after all this, because we don't know when it's going to end. Hopefully, these vaccinations actually end it. It's scary because I don't know how it's going to end, how if it's going to open up gradually, if we're going to be like half normal, like where we're still being able to go places, but we have to rock the masks all the time. I mean, they've gone through it before with pandemics, but we're in a little bit of a different time. I think with technologically, where it's people traveled a lot more in today's times than they did 100 years ago.
Yeah, the airline companies are just making so much money. Like how much revenue they make per year. It's like it's $1 billion
Yeah,
industry. It's huge. It's like, and the people who are traveling like since like last year, since like with COVID. I mean, like good for you as a job. Is just stay careful as much as possible because my mom was gonna go to Philippines last year in September, go visit her mom. And unfortunately, in Philippines, yes, you do have to quarantine, but she didn't really like that. She just wanted to go visit her mom, but it was kind of like, well, there's new safety protocols, and then her work, because she works for Vancouver Coastal Health, so her work on top of that had more updated protocols, and it was like, well, I'm not gonna go to Philippines, not right now, not until like this pandemic has like just died down a little bit.
yeah, it's scary. I mean, it's we don't know what the right decisions are. It's like your mom wants to go see. You said your grandma in
Mm-hmm.
the Philippines. That is when you start getting grandparents that are older and stuff, and you don't know how long this is going to go. It's not comforting, not knowing when you're going to see them next. I have a grandma who's in a old age home in Vancouver. She's turning 90 next month. I haven't seen her for over a year now, and it's just like in my opinion, if I'm 90 years old, I want to see my family. I'm like, I'd rather see my family and risk kind of like the COVID, like how scary COVID is, but like I still want to risk it, knowing like how much longer do people have? You never know. Like it's you never know, and for you not to see your family for over a year, that's really sad and
Yeah.
like how mentally bad is that for anyone, right? So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It'll be nice to. It's gonna be interesting to see how many flights are booked up after all this, when people can fly again and travel again, and how much if people will have the money to travel after being like not making as much money the last couple of years and stuff. So it's gonna be interesting, and to see which plane companies are still open. Because I can tell you right now, from what I heard, American Airlines and stuff, like they can't go much longer without people flying internationally. It's not viable for any airline really to make money. They're making like no money right now, none of them. So yeah, I enjoyed talking to you, Alexandra. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming in.
Thank you.
If you ever are interested in learning more here, I plan on doing some workshops online and stuff with podcasting, how to do it. We have people that rent this space out for their podcast constantly. We have a lot of knowledgeable people, but I really want to do more online, virtual, like um, basically like rundowns and workshops on how to do this, because it's can be intimidating, but it's actually quite, depending on how basic you want to go, can be quite simple. Ours isn't that simple because I have three camera angles, audio on, and all this stuff that I have to take every. Well, I forget what they say for time, but it's like for every 10 minutes of editing, or like 10 minutes, it's like at least at least triple that or something for time of editing. So if you do a half an hour podcast, it's like a 3 hour at least editing job with three camera angles, right? So it's a lot of work, but it's the final product that it can be really makes you feel good about yourself. It's a project to be proud of. So yeah, if you have any questions, if you ever, I know it's a long trek out, but if you ever are looking to rent space, we do have an affordable plan here. It's 35 an hour to rent this space, all the equipment included. So if that's another, if you plan on doing a couple podcasts or a podcast, rent it for an hour. It's $35. I know it's still spending money, but it's the convenience of not having to have all this stuff, computers, lights, microphones, all that. It's an option too. So yeah, let me know if that's ever an interest of you. Where can we find you? Where can we?
So you can find me. So I have 3 Instagram accounts. So the first one is HEX Creative. That's my photography and graphic design. My podcast is called Getting Real Podcast. I think, yeah, Getting Real Podcast Show. Anyway, it's like you'll find like the podcast one has like a light green logo, and then there's like the listen to on Apple and Spotify. Um, the other one is where I'm going to be posting my travel and outdoor lifestyle. So that one is called Alexandra Greenberg 18. So my last name is spelled green as in a color BERG. So if anyone is trying to look for me, I have a photo of myself with black and white photo of my head turning to my left, and so yeah.
Cool. Yeah, definitely check her out. Put a nice little just a graphic with all your social media handles and your just to get in contact with you, and hopefully people will use your services for graphic design and stuff in the future. That'd be awesome. But yeah, thank you, Alexandra. Thank you
Thank
for joining
you.
us, and yeah, hopefully we can talk soon.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for watching. This has been PoCommunity. Have a good one.